Law. Yeah. Starting off with Dan Cole's the art of focus. Let's go. The principles is the first page. Beginners find value in methods because they offer certainty, step by step action plans to achieve a specific end result sound promising, but if it were as easy as following a blog article of actionable steps, everyone would be happy, wealthy, and wise. Masters, on the other hand, rarely need methods given to them. They prioritize high level understanding, experiments with various techniques, and crafts a strategy that allows them to navigate large and small situations with grace. Before we dive into the meat of this book, I want to give a rapid fire explanation of the principles that will act as a foundation for the lesson. Foundation for the lesson you are about to receive. As you progress through the teachings, read with intention, make an effort to connect the principle to the theory and accompanying particles. These are the tenets of the system that this book presents to create a good life. Mhm. Note that this is a system and it may not plug into your life like the design of an electrical outlet. Question what I say, question your own answer, and dance in the middle without labeling and interpretations as absolutes. Yeah, without labeling one's interpretations as absolutes. Yeah, two, the supreme law. Entropy is the supreme law of the universe, which illustrates the system tend towards disorder, chaos, destruction on all planes of existence unless energy is put into the system. Like how the road gets beaten down, need like how the road gets bit, like how the road gets beaten down, need replacements and may need to expand to fit a growing population. If the system does not evolve with the world, chaos ensues until a new system emerges. System thinking. System thinking has many definitions. In this book, we will define it as through thought process efficient thought process. When you understand the goal, process the variable of any situation, your mind can perceive that situation in a manner that is conducive towards your desired outcome. While roads get beaten down and need replacement over time, so does the mental system that you use to make sense of the road. If you walk to the local grocery store every day, every other day, your mind forms grooves to preserve energy because you don't need to think about where you are walking. But if you were to move across the country, the system would be destroyed and you may get anxious until you find a new path to solidify your routine. Psyche entropy, psychic entropy. In our daily practical lives, the main problem is that of mental disorder, not the kind that can be diagnosed and offer a prescription, but a state of chaos that we often fall into: stress, overwhelm, and anxiety accumulates to the point of feeling lost with no light at the end of the tunnel. To this point, we can thank a lack of engagement with the present moment that offers random thoughts to penetrate our awareness. Clarity is your savior, and we must prioritize programming, maintaining, and evolving the system our minds run on. Content is consciousness. Content is consciousness. Everything is information or forms that arise in consciousness. Everything is in and out of formation, as the Buddhist principle of impermanence would hint at. From our generic from our genetic code to the language we speak, to the light frequencies we perceive, to anything we can label. The structure of the information that fills our consciousness impacts us how we move in the world. Impacts how we move in the world. Consciousness is like water that takes the form of contents in the structure of a cup. Routines, rituals, business systems, relationship tactics, sports, other self-help advices, and spiritual teachings allows individuals to prevent their mind's decline into chaos for the temporary amounts of time that they hold the forms within consciousness. It is impossible to bind water in a paper envelope. And in a situation like this, you will either lose the enjoyable charity you had as time progresses, or you will waste and you will waste precious energy refilling the paper envelope. Instead, it makes sense to maintain charity by remaining conscious, intentionally and mindfully of the information and mindful of the information we expose to our minds. Zooming out. To zoom out like a camera is to broaden your perspective, to interpret a situation for what it is. Your perspective determines how you perceive, like focusing a camera's lens, both the cup and the water. That is, to not get trapped in the potential negative details of a situation that prevents progress. There may not be one cup, but 10, and there may only be one cup with an infinite number of cups inside of it. The further you zoom out, the more you the more you can expand consciousness of or the water to flow with life rather than being bound by the limitations of a small cup. Self experimentation is not only the way to solve your problems for good, but to make novel discoveries. Experimentation leads to experiences, and true experiences is how you differentiate yourself in the marketplace. A doctor can diagnose and prescribe a solution to your problems that he thinks will work, but that solution is often artificial, doesn't attack the root cause, and creates new problems. If it can be prescribed, its results are temporary. Intelligent imitation. As children, we learn through imitation. We imitate everything around us for the sake of survival. Some end up with more problems, some end up with less, but we all end up in a place that can be improved. The way you begin to move in life the way you begin to move in a life direction is to make a conscious change in the people, environment, and information. When you enter, let me see, can be improved. As children, we learn that through imitation, we imitate everything around us for the sake of survival. Some end up with more problems, some end up with less, but we all end up in peace. We all end up in a place that can be improved. The way you begin to move in a life direction is to make a conscious change in the people, environment, and information that you are exposed to by immersing yourself in the stimuli that is conducive to your ideal future. Uh, you pick up subtle hints that compound into useful knowledge, but of course, this knowledge must evolve into understanding through conscious actions. Through conscious actions, immersing yourself in a state of light that is conducive to your ideal future. Radical open mindedness. When you enter this world, you know nothing. You explored reality with an open mind, and a childlike wonder reflected that for most people, other projected others projected dogmatic worldviews on them. Oh, sorry, others projected dogmatic worldviews on them, while further exploration was discovered. How further exploration was discovered. Nobody wants to cut themselves off from great discoveries, insights, and truths, but that's what social conditioning does. We accept and attach to the limits projected on us. Life is counterintuitive in nature. Some of the deepest truths are hidden under what seems to be silly on the surface. Open mindedness is how you explore the depths. While most people exist on the surface, observe and question. Observation is perception without an immediate or reactionary interpretation. When you observe and question, you begin to understand a situation from a big picture perspective. Only from that vantage point can you make a decision that benefits your future in a way that is the least harmful to others. No idea is too sacred to question. No idea is too sacred to question, and the more sacred it seems, the more it should be questioned. Question the thing that people make you think you are crazy for questioning. That is the beginning of many inspiring original stories. Judgment versus discernment. Don't judge things that you have not experienced. This should be obvious, but we live in a world of armchair philosophers, scientists, and business people. You will never have access to another person's state of mind. You don't understand that situation, and you will never have the full picture. Don't judge, but observe and discern, so you can correct your own behavior accordingly. Expectation versus reality. The space between expectation and reality is tension, pain, and suffering. We often interpret a situation as difficult when it isn't supposed to be any other way. When it isn't supposed to be any other way. It is what it is. And once you experience these profound truths, life becomes sustainably more enjoyable. The expectation of what things should be is not the reality. That is information. Your expectation of what things should be is not the reality. Is not the reality. That is information. Your expectation of what things should be is not the reality. That is information. A similar distinction would be that's of concepts compared to experience, or the map compared to the territory. The concept of God, Brahman, infinity, or the universe, Brahman, infinity, and the universe are not those things. A concept is used to label an experience, yet people latch onto concepts and act like they understand to survive the identity they have formed. Beings comes before knowing. Sorry, they have formed. Excuse me. Beings comes before knowing, and permanent knowing is an accurate representation of the impermanence of beings. Impermanence of beings. Rice. Orange. Radical acceptance. Things aren't supposed to be. oh, Things aren't supposed to be anything other than what they are. Things aren't supposed to be anything other than what they are. And once you accept this, expectation aligns with reality. Focus is no longer split but engaged with the present moment. Whether you are climbing Mount Everest, arguing with your parents, or losing money in your business, there is nothing you can think about. There is nothing you can think that will change this situation. Instead, you must align and act. Knowledge versus understanding. One can know a lot but understand very little. Knowledge is constructed upwards, while understanding is discovered inward. Both are useful, but to think that knowledge will make you happy, healthy, and wise is a fool's endeavor. Mm. Happy, healthy, and wise is a fool's endeavor. Knowledge must be acquired, but in order to understand it, must be but in order to understand it must be brushed up against reality to see if it holds its weight. One can philosophize, fabricate, and hold hard set beliefs by sitting behind a screen, but can they run a business, nurture a relationship, or apply their knowledge to the times they live in? Exploration. It is obvious that the only way to make novel discoveries, creations, and innovations is to embrace the unknown, preferably with curiosity. Your driver towards curiosity as your driver towards a meaningful goal. If you want to live a life that has often been lived, you cannot follow the default path. Sorry, that had not often been lived. If you want to live a life that has not often been lived, you cannot follow the default path that is laid in front of you at birth. The sooner you realize this, the sooner you can wrestle with the fear of doing what you want and win. Holistic synthesis. At this point in time, niche compartments of realities have been explored, studied, and documented. The school system is structured to train people into these compartments like chemistry, neuroscience, and literature. Reality is not compartmentalized. Everything is connected, and there are infinite connections to be made. The world needs more polymaths, auto, autodictats, autodic, dictats, autodictats, and modern Renaissance men to further the unity of human consciousness. Creativity versus productivity. Humans are not robots. Their creative ability of our minds is what separates us from other beings. The creative ability of our minds is what separates us from other beings. So we prioritize the edge. Too many people get so we prioritize the edge. So we prioritize the edge. Too many people get bogged down with the pursuit of status to more productive. Sorry. Too many people get bogged down Too many people get bogged down with the pursuit of status to be more productive than their peers. Instead, we want to leverage the efficiency of our minds, synthesize mechanical tasks to take up the least amount of time in our day and make time for creative pursuits. The greatest artists, thinkers, and scientists did not impact the world by performing the same repetitive, manual, and replaceable tasks day after day. They prioritize rest, sought to expand their minds, and prioritize creating to solve big problems. Storytelling. Stories house the components that form the foundation of human behavior. Like a good book, life unfolds in chapters and phrases and phases. There is a problem There is a problem, call to adventure, curiosity, exploration of the unknown, struggle, insights, transformation, solution, climax, and more that happen more than once over the course of a lifespan. The problem is that most people are either distracted or stuck in a phase because they lack the ability to see the big picture. Nobody wants to get lost in the unknown, and everybody wants to sustain the climax. This is a recipe for disaster, failure, and struggle. Success cannot exist without failure. It just wouldn't make sense. Without failure, you would have nothing of your own worth working towards. You can observe the achievements of others and desire for the same, but the pursuit of another's goals signals a lack of regard for the importance of one's own. Failure and struggles are necessary experiences from which you can toss an anchor and pull yourself towards a better future. This way, you don't end up living someone else's life, one that you are near guaranteed to dislike. Iteration and persistence. Value requires development over time. A profitable product is not built in a week, nor is a strong body, even though you may only see someone's even though you may only see someone's happy ending of of their story. That does not mean that they weren't committed for years prior. It is wise to try new things, and I would recommend adopting that habit. But you need a project to develop. Without a tangible vessel for your knowledge, skill acquisition, and discoveries, you may end up with years of energy spent with nothing to show for its polarity. Reality is not black and white. A coin is not head or tails. A human is not happy or sad. These are but temporary dualities that the mind tends to make permanent with labels, concepts, and ideology. Instead, view two sides of the same coin as just that. They have their opposites, but are bound by relationship. Success is a higher state on the spectrum of failure and vice versa. Forms would not make sense without space. Forms will not make sense without space. When you flip the design of tapestry, you see the ugly mess that lies underneath. Hurting for holism. Reality is perspective, and our perspective is but one of infinity. Often, our point of view determines the positive or negative interpretation of a solution, as when someone else can come in with an equally valid perspective, but the opposite interpretation. If you are a truth seeker, your job is to hunt for kernels of truth in every perspective, even those that aren't human. This forces you to reject all ideology, dogma, or belief system that even the masters may hold as absolute truths. This is the only path to sustainable peace, enjoyment, and wisdom. This is the only path to sustainable peace, enjoyment, and wisdom. Ooh, what is this? Ego development. You don't get rid of the ego, you develop it to the point of being at one with reality. It is often for us to assume that we want to kill the ego or kill desire when that is simply part of what it desires. Instead, we want to transcend and include. That is to use the ego to navigate the relative world we live in while grounded in the absolute level of mind. Every problem you encounter in this every problem you encounter in life demands an increase in your level of mind. Your level of mind is synonymous with the openness of your perspective. You must shed your attachments to expectation, concepts, and beliefs that prevents you from perceiving any situation for what it is. When you can perceive a situation for what it is, you can acquire the skill necessary to match the challenge that a problem presents. This is done with education. This is done with self education, self experimentation, and persistence to see that the problem is solved not by the prescription of another, but by your own understanding. Conceptual survival. In this modern world, specifically for those reading this book, I can assume that your life is exponentially more comfortable than that of your ancestors, and it will only continue to move in that direction. The human psyche is interesting in that we survive and reproduce on the conceptual level. We impregnate minds with ideas. Those ideas create concepts. We may identify with those concepts, and our behavior shifts in alignment with those. The self is the concept of the concepts, and the majority of our actions are taken, and the majority of our actions are taken to survive the self. Mastery over misery. A sushi chef spends years perfecting the preparation of rice. A tennis player obsesses over the angles of their serve. Mastery sets you apart in a world that can't see beyond the surface. To master repetition of the boring fundamentals is not boring. They have developed intrinsic philosophies and reasons behind their actions. They look forward to it every day because they understand that nothing good comes from the quick fix. Tactical stress. Tactical stress is the conscious decision to break out of your familiar routine, put yourself in a do or die situation, and realize that only the thing stopping you from reaching the next level is fear. And realize that the only thing stopping you from reaching the next level is fear. If you have the skill to match the challenges and are honest with yourself, all you need is to rip the bandage off. Not only will you make a leap, not only will you make a leap in progress, but peace. Thanks to the level of mind and stress, thanks to the level of mind and stress requires to mitigate in business. Close the client, even if you don't know with certainty that you can deliver results. In life, book the flight across the country, even if you don't think you can afford it. Make the decision that requires you to finally execute, reaching your next stage of evolution. Selfishness as a priority. Strip all judgments from your mind surrounding selfishness, as I am assuming those were programmed into you. Sorry, why am I predicting? Strip all judgment from your mind surrounding selfishness, as I am assuming those were programmed into your head by selfish desires of others. Self education, self reliance, self experimentation, self control, self reflection, self awareness, self development, self employment, and self management. Those traits are to be prioritized, prioritized. If you need something from another, it is near impossible to act with authenticity. You will unconsciously manipulate your language to get what you want from them, with little regard to their own life situation. And if you have not developed the value you have to offer, a noble pursuit of selfishness is only stunting both your growth and others. Hmm. This is my problem with America as a general. It's really pushes for this selflessness, like not selflessness, but the anti-selflessness. Like you gotta do it yourself, put you first every single time, which is helpful in a lot of ways and helpful in America, but kind of just dismantles the community and the fellowship you have with like a neighbor. The three pillars. Let's imagine you are surrounded by the people you admire most, people that are successful by your standard, people that are successful by your standard, the ones that have impacted your life to the core. This is different for everyone, but I'm assuming this room would be filled with entrepreneurs, teachers, public figures, philosophers, intellectuals, and others that share, and shape cultures. with the idea. This is enough time to ask them one question. If you could attribute your success to one thing, what would it be? A hobby of mine is to study the patterns of successful people, and thanks to social media, I've confirmed one pattern. Every successful person by any standard, even if that version of success means rejecting the world and living a life of peace in the woods, knows that focus is the catalyst to the good life. Though self-reflection, through self-reflection, I have come to the same conclusion. Focus determines my success in all dimensions of life, because focus is dimension and dimension agnostic. Dimension agnostic. What does that even mean? Dimension agnostic. It fueled my spiritual practice. It's fueled my spiritual practice, business, relationship, health, writing, learning, and endeavors. The ability to focus your attention on a meaningful goal, holding that in the back of your mind as a distraction repellent, knowing exactly how to achieve it through prior experience, and reinforcing and refocusing on the choice in front of you is a superpower. But we all know it's not that simple, because if it were you, would you be able to walk out of your front door and see a utopia? I am not sure if we will ever create a collective utopia, but a personal one is a different story. Focus is a muscle that is a muscle, and success. Sorry, focus is a muscle, and success is reserved for those that train it. Training in this sense, training in this sense is done at every passing moment. You're focusing your attention right now, and will continue to throughout your day, week, months, years, decades, and so on. Training is synonymous with conditioning or programming. Conditioning is the engine that shapes our behavior, thoughts, and emotions through focus. The key with all of this is conscious repetition. What we are repeatedly exposed to shapes who we are, for better or for worse. For better or worse, for better or worse, for better or worse, for better or worse, with the hope of sounding the least, uh, self-organizing as I can, organizing, are um, the self-aggrandism, self-aggrandism as I can. Focus was the driving force. My success. Focus was the driving force of my success. By the age of 25, I had built a one-person business that made more money than I could handle, so much that I felt the urge to decrease my income, sell my fancy condo, return the expensive watches, but keep the fast cars, because why not? I will let go. I will let go of it when the time comes. I had as much free time as I desired, but would usually fill it with study because I enjoyed it so much. I was arguably more stable in mind, body and spirit and finance than the world around me. If I started over from zero, my creative ability would allow me to build it back up in record time in almost any situation. In short, I had created multidimensional freedom through the compounding nature of focus. If you are sold on this whole focus thing, good. That is the first step, but this isn't a promise that you can simply focus on becoming healthy, happy, and wise with hopes that your imagined reality will manifest. Focus is the first pillar in a mental feedback loop that is woven into reality itself. Hmm. Part one: focus. Imagine having a spreadsheet that displays how much attention you have invested in any given area of your life: mind, body, spirit, and business. That impacts your relationship with the world and those around you. The spreadsheet would be a direct indicator, a direct indicator of your quality of life. Focus is a lost art in a distracted world, not to mention it is vastly misunderstood. It is not something limited to when you need to focus. It's not something limited to when you need to focus. Like for a productive work session, if it is active at any given moment, you are either focused on something or you aren't. And if you aren't, that is but a lower magnitude of focus until you reach the absolute. Focus has a frame. We call this perspective or worldview. Perspective is malleable. You can transfer your consciousness to other beings like your pet cat or dog in search for understanding of their behavior. Through that perspective, we can interpret and form conclusions. We can interpret and form conclusions in the world through our sensory perspective and past experience. I can narrow the focus of my finger and point at something microscopic. I can narrow the focus of my finger and point at something microscopic. I can open the focus of my body and embrace the harmony of nature. I can filter certain smells through my nose and sounds through my ears. And when it comes to a nice dinner, I can pick apart a grainy texture from a salty liquid, from a hint of rosemary. This is reality, an ever flowing quality of experience. Each of these external sensations triggers a series of thoughts, emotions, and memories. When I shift my focus inward, I can explore these entities. When I shift my focus inward, I can explore these entities. I can let thoughts trigger thoughts within a belief system. I can flow an emotion. Sorry, I can follow an emotion to a past experience. Then I can picture that experience in vivid details. And if I enjoy that experience, I can add a brush stroke to the painting of the future I wish to create. From there, I can shift my focus outward. Once again, learn how to create that future through studying. Once again, learn how to create that future through study, and narrow my attention on the work that will actualize said reality. The entire journey we just took in the inner and outer world is fueled by attention. At any moment, a rogue thought from a painful past, future task that induce stress or environmental stimuli could snap your attention into an unconscious state. Attention is the currency that runs the world. It is the foundation of existence. If it doesn't occupy your attention, it doesn't exist. And when you notice novelty or something that may aid in your survival, your attention is drawn to it. If an ancestor passed by a familiar bear bush every day, there is no reason to see it as important. But if that bush grew berries, some if that bush grew berries, someone would notice it on their next passing by dopamine signaling its importance. by dopamine signaling its importance, and they would register that bush as a potential tool for later survival. In a modern sense, businesses can only exchange money if attention comes first. Religious religions are also as powerful as the amount of people that give said belief attention. Corporate pyramids have more people with less power at the bottom and less people with more power at the top. The top holds more people because attention demanding tasks are delegated to those beneath them. The captivating message of these societal entities reach attention early in life because they can be a tool for survival. But if we allow them to dominate our minds and control our focus, we may miss out on the depth that life has to offer. The attention needed to make a decision can only be done after you give attention to a thought about their action. So you give attention to a thought about your action, about that action. The thoughts of going to the bathroom pops in your head and you shift your attention towards walking to the bathroom. The thought can only occur when you have given attention to a prior experience labeled that snapshot in time and stored it for later and study for later use to aid it in your survival. We take mental notes of dangerous, important, and useful information from our environment as we execute certain attention patterns, like going to the bathroom. It becomes more efficient with time. These attention systems allows us to use our limited conscious attention to learn more information, store more information, and create systems that conserve mental energy to repeat the process. Focus compounds, and it is a great metric to know if you are on the meaningful path in life. True progress requires an ever evolving shift in focus. If you are repeating the same monotonous if you are repeating the same monotonous task and if you are repeating the same monotonous task in life, it is safe to assume that life seems to lack fulfillment. When you start, your survival needs will consume your attention until you solve the right problem. When you start, your survival needs will consume your attention until you solve the right problem in that domain. As you solve your money problem, you gain a bit more freedom. Your focus may shift to self-development, spirituality, or creating a more meaningful career and business. Your focus will shift priorities during every stage: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. At the lowest level of business, you're focused on learning, making mistakes, and cultivating the value you have to offer. At the highest level, you get to choose the lever you want to focus on, like writing for 90 minutes each morning, like writing for 90 minutes each morning. And if you don't like writing, you can outsource it and choose a more enjoyable way to focus your attention. In modern slavery, where you can get trapped in one stage of the pyramid challenges cease to exist. Your life's work will require an ever increasing level of challenges. The challenge will require a certain set of skills as the complexity of your as the complexity of your skill set increases. The perceived level of challenges stays within a narrow margin of difficulty. Your hierarchy of goals from the top down: ideal futures to present actions. Your hierarchy of goals from the top down: ideal future to present action, will frame your focus in an indestructible manner. When you create and maintain this fickle mental clarity, you begin to flow with the cyclical nature of the universe. This is what keeps life meaningful, interesting, and fulfilling. Energy There is a phrase: energy flows where attention goes, that has a mountain of depth behind it. as do most simple platitudes. Focus is not only a muscle that can be trained, but a currency that can be spent. And everyone is out to steal this most valuable resource rather than earn it. In this third millennium, mental energy is the most valuable resource for this book. We will define mental energy as a term that encapsulates the effects of intentions, intention, and will will that's amplified with consciousness. When you focus your mental energy, attention plays a huge role, but the intention may be misaligned, and the uh, will non-existent. Focus is the vessel for mental energy. You can focus on a positive potential future through visualization and feel an increase in positive energy in your body. Think of the last enjoyable vacation you went on. Does that spark any positive emotions for you? What if you imagine yourself going back to the location in the future, the food you would eat, the people you would be around, the warm the warm nights under stars. Okay, so I don't know. The warm 19 no, no, no. The warm nights under the stars with a crackling fire casting a warm glow on the side of your face. Yet specific, can you feel the emotions associated with that experience? This doesn't only appear this doesn't only apply to positive aspects of life, but negatives. And due to the raw power of negative energy, this is where most people mentally reside. An inescapable cyclical an inescapable cycle of past emotions being experienced in the present, unable to focus that energy towards a positive outcome. Specific goals demand a specific amount of mental energy to actualize. You can become aware of how this works with distractions in your life. They hold your attention, eliminate intentions, and drain your will. But when you focus on something meaningful, it holds your attention through the clarity that comes from intention and generates will. My point here is this: thoughts, emotions, goals, environment, art, task, conversations, experiences, and the rest triggers an energy that you can feel. This that is notable, not in a pseudoscientific sense, but in a sense that can be directly experienced. Let me introduce you to the supreme law of the universe, entropy. Some call it nature's tax entropy, some call it nature's tax in short, but it is the measure of disorder in a system. It is the driving force in evolution. The law of entropy finds that everything falls into chaos, or some, or sorry, that everything falls into chaos, or that nothing lasts forever. But there's always a chance to start all over again, or a way for that system to evolve into something completely different. No matter how much mental energy I use to keep my books in order on the shelf, entropy will take its grasp. Dust will accumulate, humidity will wrap the spines. The changing seasons dry out pages. I can clean it, dust it, keep the temperature controlled. But after a while, entropy would take over. Sorry. I can clean it, dust it, but after a while, entropy will take over. Even further and layering system will take over. Even further and layering systems on top of systems. Compare your bookshelf to a public library. Your home bookshelf to a public library. Entropy impacts individual books, but what about the system to organize those books? At home, if you don't have a system in place to focus your mental energy, books will end up on the counter at a friend's house and on the coffee table. The books will become disorganized unless you attempt to maintain order. In a library, there is more mental energy put towards managing the organization system. Employees filter, organize, and place books on the shelf so people can find them according to the groups of expectation or systems they hold in their minds. The organization keeps chaos at bay for both the organization and the individuals. It allows for the efficient use of mental energy. This is on the micro scale, and on the macro scale, these layers of systems will still come at an end. The employees will evolve to new positions or find new jobs or find new jobs altogether. People will grow old, books will fall apart, and efficient digital systems will take their place to extend the lifespan of order. This does not reflect in just a library, but almost everything. Society itself is a system with uncountable physical, mental, and financial system in place. Culture, business, and personal lives all run on a layered set of systems that are fueled from the bottom up by focused mental energy. This is the fabric. This is the fabric of civilization. If everyone stopped what they were doing for a day, week, or even months, who knows what the world would look like? Who knows what the world will look like? No matter how efficient a system is, it will always fall to the law of entropy because the universe is balanced with this push-pull tension of chaos and order. Methods are madness, negentropy, entropy and negentropy. This does not mean that all is lost. It means that focus must shift with time to maintain a proper flow of mental energy in your life. Standing still is not an option. And if you don't choose where to place your focus, it will be chosen for you. To understand this evolutionary process of survival, we must understand systems. A system is a group of components that work together to achieve a common goal. Language is a system that helps humanity communicate, but it also plays a role in almost every other goal that can be achieved. But it also plays a role in almost every other goal that can be achieved. Roads are a system for efficient transportation. These roads have evolved and become more efficient as problems reveal themselves. Belief systems like religious ideology give people certainty, give people certainty going into an uncertain future. These teachings have been translated with the evolution of language to retain their impact. As systems degrade, problems pop up, and our natural behavior is to solve these problems for the sake of survival, not physical survival, but conceptual, to survive the systems that run civilization, but conceptual to survive the systems that run civilization. The mind is a complex set of systems that allow us to interact with reality, meaning most of what we do, even if it's not for survival, is goal orientated. Even if it's not for survival, is goal orientated. Some of these goals are conscious, some aren't, and these all direct focus and these all direct our focus and consume mental energy. Now there is a universal pattern to notice here. Human behavior is influenced by a desired goal system to achieve that goal, and a problem people that once made conscious people and once made conscious pushes to people to act. The degree of clarity that this process provides will influence how people perceive the goal. That is, whether it is worth pursuing or not. Let me finish. We can consider this entire process a hierarchy of goals. The desirable end goal is a given, but a system and accompanying problems. The desired end goal is a given, but a system and accompanying problems An accompanying problem houses goals within themselves. When one spots a problem, a goal to solve that problem is implied. To reach that goal, clarity must bridge the gap with a series of goals, descending in order of execution to order the mind and encourage action. In a world where so few people set and even fewer achieve their own goals, one can piece together an argument that a new version of slavery has emerged after the Industrial Revolution, not physical but mental. If you don't know what you want, you will be told what you want and you will believe it. If you don't create a purpose, you will be assigned one. If you don't create a career, you will be assigned one. If you don't create a hierarchy of goals to invest your mental energy in, you will be assigned one. Like climbing a corporate, religious, or status ladder just to realize you have wasted 80% of your life. This is not a conspiracy theory, but the product of evolution. That's mental enslavement starts at birth. The interplay of culture, society, and survival place multiple hierarchies of goals in front of us. Go to school, get good grades, praise the God you subscribe to, watch the news to stay informed, and retire when you have enough to scrap by with the little time you have left. Question nothing and invest your mental energy in the certain system laid in front of you. These are not bad and are necessary stepping stones in many cases, but the point stands. It's no wonder so many people seem miserable. You don't need special glasses to see that. You can tap a few buttons on your phone and deduce what goal people are pursuing, the systems their minds are running on, and the superficial problem they take too serious that result in misery. Collective mental energy is what creates modern power from the bottom up. Key pillars of the internal world structures are fueled by unconscious attention, intentions, and will. When we pull from our experience to sorry, when we pull from our experience to know what we don't want, gain clarity on what we want, and construct a personal hierarchy of goals to frame our focus, the potential of life enjoyment increases drastically. But if we don't want to be victims of mental entropy, we must create, improve, and allow for the evolution of systems to aid in our personal development with experience. We can make these systems more efficient with time. The end goal, full control. The end goal, full control over where we focus our mental energy, thanks to our ability to achieve personal goals, create efficient systems, and solve better problems. That's the end goal, to focus to gain focus of where our mental energy goes and achieve goals. Experience, focus, experience, and energy, focus, energy, experience. Most people would agree that they want to maximize the enjoyments in their lives, but their action do not reflect that happiness as a metric has been distorted and pleasure isn't sustainable. So enjoyment is the word. So enjoyment is the word of choice here. To sustain maximum enjoyment, you need to amplify experience. What is experience? It is what's right in front of you, not a projection into the future, not a reminisce uh, not a reminiscence on the past, not a reminiscence of the past. Everything outside of the present moment is not direct experience, but an experience of the experience, which can spiral into overthinking, overwhelm, and overanalysis. This can be useful in moderation with a tool like self reflection and should be a practice in your life. but you may miss out on the only thing that's but you may miss out on the only thing that's real, especially if you get stuck into the superficial pursuits of materialistic paradigms. It's impossible to know with absolute certainty what the future holds. Yet, that's what the societal machine promises. The results are almost always unnecessary pain. The results are almost always unnecessary pain, suffering, and lack of passion for life itself. Why? Because we project further away from the present, get lost in the details, and fabricate problems that have nothing to do with our next step. This is the negative scenario of over imagination. Don't label any of these as bad just yet. It's possible it's possible to know what the past held, and through our self-reflective consciousness directed by an internal shift in focus, we can make quick and decisive choices towards a better future. This process becomes more accurate with time because we all have a starting point. The start will be slow because you may be solving the wrong problem. But if you continue solving your own problem or correcting your past mistakes, a positive future is inevitable. You would have to face problems that, when fixed, will threaten your conceptual understanding of who you are. Hold the intentions in your mind to be open to change throughout this book. A part of the problem solver or value creator is how you escape the world of replaceability. Fall in love with the challenge fall in love with the challenge that problems present for superficials from superficials to metaphysical, and your ideal focus will create itself. This is the infinite game. Direct experience that you is the only thing you can make sound conclusions. So you can make sound conclusions on. Experience is the only thing you can make sound conclusions on. When it comes to your life, intentional, conscious decision making is how you notice the effects of your actions. If you made a mistake, did you notice that mistake? If you did, have you corrected your behavior? If correcting your behavior is difficult, what's the problem standing in the way of reaching the initial problem that sparked this introspection? That is how you slowly bring more enjoyment into your life. Throughout relentless and non-reactionary questioning, you are forced to face the reality of situations. I am not here to debate a topic as nuanced as which fad diet is better for the average individual. But if you identify with a diet ideology, follow that diet regardless of its destructive effects on your individual body, and continue to preach it as the best, you are a slave to an ideal rather than using direct experience as self correction compass. Direct as self correction compass. All right, that will be the end of today. That's good. An hour. Get him back there, buddy. Woo.